Welcome back. In this video, we're going to continue to work on our to-do input controller here. And during break, I noticed that we need to add a return statement right here because if update state exists, we want to update it. We don't want to update the default state. I need to check our other controller and make sure that we have that in there as well. There we go. Now, we really only need like two more methods here. We need a method for when we click the checkbox. So on change onChangeDone, because done is our field here. So that's about how I would name it. And when you click a checkbox, I believe it fires the onChange event, not the onClick event, or the onChange event is the one that you want for when you click on a checkbox. Okay, and we need to know what item that we're clicking on. So we're gonna have to do like, we'll do I here for an index, and it'll take a number. In fact, I'll just spell it all out. Normally I'll do something like this. Although like I is a universal term for some kind of like iteration integer of some kind. I still will usually type it all the way out like this, just so it's like so dead simple, like you can't screw it up. Okay, so on change done, we're gonna have the index, and so we're gonna kind of do the same thing here. We're gonna create a new items, and then we're gonna modify the item, new item, our index, and done is equal to the inverse of whatever our done is, like so. And then we're just going to steal our set state here, like this. So let's go ahead and let's wire up this the rest of the way on the component. And I think what I want to do here is maybe we should separate this out into its own component. So let's do that real quick. And we'll call this the to-do item. And a new index.tsx. Export default function to-do item. And I want to return. Let's go back into our component here. I thought I copied this, but I guess I didn't. Okay. So now we can take this key out of here. We're going to have to reassign that later. And we're going to need some kind of prop here. Interface. Props. And it will just be item, which is type of the I to do. Okay. And then we'll just wire this up here real quick. And then wherever we have V, we can just change this to item. Also, we can pass down the controller like we did before as well. And we're going to probably have to pass in the index. No, actually, we won't have to pass in the index. There's multiple ways that we could actually attack this. So let's just pass in our to-do controller. And to-do controller here, like so. And then on this form check, we have an onChange event, like so. And then our let's call our to-do controller dot onChangeDone. And the way that we wrote our method was that it takes the index of this item. So we can either pass in the index, or we could just pass in like the item or like actually the ID and then find it that way. It's probably just easier if we just pass in the index, I would imagine. performance-wise, we're going to know what the index already is. So if we go back to this, we can just delete all these, paste in our to-do item. Our to-do controller is our controller. And our index, we're going to have to update our map here to include a second argument, I for index. And we're still missing something yet. And we have to pass the item, which is going to be v for value. That's why I put a v. It's the value of whatever thing we're mapping over for v. Okay. And just the reason why I use the shorthand v and I here is because you do this a lot in your projects, and if you ever had to refactor the things, it gets so ugly so quick. It's just a lot easier to do it like this rather than making this say item or something like that. Because if items ends up being refactored in some way, then you're going to be like, well, if I want to make it correct, I should come in here and change this too. Well, let me just tell you, this is probably the correct play, like 99% of the time. Okay, so now our to-do item is set up. And it has onChangeDone, and we're just going to pass the index in like so. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this out as well. So what do we need on Taco Tuesday? Okay, it's not spelled right. That's fine. It doesn't matter. Okay, so now I'm seeing in my console here, warning, each child of a list should have a unique key prop. So we removed the key when we did the refactoring, and we didn't add the key back into it. It's very important that you have the key in here, which is going to be v.id. And the reason that it's like so important is the way React renders things is it looks at the keys, and then especially if the keys haven't changed, it might not re-render it. There's just much stuff going on in the hood. Just know that you want to have the key because it uniquely identifies that item as a unique item. And so if like a key is removed from the list, it knows it has to update the list. Or if there's a new key, it knows that it has to like append that item to the list. Or if the keys change order, then it knows it has to change the order of the list. You know, so it handles all these under the hood operations by the key. So keep that in mind. Tacos. And then I click here, and this updates our state. It turns, changes this to done, and now it's crossed out. And then if we click it, now it's not done. Very cool. Also, what I want to do here is when you click done, I want it to go to the bottom of the list. So I think what we're going to do here is, what we can do is we can just like slice it out. So item is equal to new items dot I always forget, is it slice or is it splice that I need here? Yeah, this one, it changes the contents of the array by removing or replacing an existing element. Okay, so add index, like so. So this will just pull our indexed item out, and we'll have it here. And then we'll just modify it here instead. This will be just like a little shorter. Okay, so it returns an array. So this is actually items. What we can do is just do this instead. We just want to get the first item that's returned here, like this. This will work fine. Okay. And then our new items, we can just push this item back onto the end of the array, like so. We could do also some more checking here to see like how many items are in the array, but yeah, this is good enough. So let's double check that this is working correctly before we move on. So taco, laundry, Beer, sure. Random other words that you can come up with. So let's just click this taco here, and the taco goes to the bottom of the list, and it's marked as done. Okay. So technically, we should probably have some more logic in here too that says that would put it back above the done items if we uncheck it. So let's go ahead and add that real quick. Okay, so what we need to do here is if item done, if the item is done, we can just put it at the end, no problem. Otherwise, all right, and then first thing that we need to do here is we need to find if there are any done items already inside of our list. So let's go ahead and look for an index. We'll search our new items list, and we'll find index. Okay, so this is a little shorthand, in case you're wondering what this does. So new items is our array of new items, and then we're calling the find index method on it. And inside of here, it just has an iterator, and it's going to return true or false, right? So this is just a arrow function, and v is our item, and we're just checking if there's a v.done. And so the arrow function, if you don't have any curly braces or whatever, it just is going to return whatever you put there. So since this is a Boolean, done as a Boolean, it's going to return true or false. And so we're looking for a true value. So if there isn't actually a true value in there, the index it's going to return is -1. So if index is equal to -1, like so, then we can just safely just push it to the end of the stack. Otherwise, we need to place it like one item before this. So the way that we can use that is we can use splice here as well. So new items dot splice, and then it's going to be index -1. And we're not splicing anything out, and we're putting our new item inside of here like so. Okay, let's go test this out and see if this works correctly or not. Okay. And then if we take toast out of there, puts toast back at the top. So I think we actually screwed that up. I kind of want it on the bottom of the list. I think we need to do this instead. Okay, that's a little annoying. Let's just reload this here. Okay, this is working now how I want it to work. Perfect. Okay. So when you uncheck it, it goes to the next spot just before the finished ones. Okay, that's looking good. Now what we have left to do here is when we click this delete button that it will delete our little to-do. So let's go ahead and add that as well. And we'll use an on click. You can call it delete or remove. Not really that important. And then it'll just take in an index, type number, and basically kind of the same stuff that we did up here, right? Create a new array of our items. We're going to splice our item out, but in this case, we don't care about actually getting the item back. We're just straight up going to modify the array like this. Okay, and then all we have to do is set our new items like so. Toast, butter, and jam, all delicious. And let's just delete toast. Oh, I know what happened. We didn't actually hook up the click. So let's go to our to-do item here. And here's our danger button. And let's go ahead and on-click, and we'll add a to-do controller, on-click remove, and pass in the index. Okay, now when we click the button, it goes away. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. I mean, of course, we could take this and do all kinds of stuff with this, but I think what this already shows you is already gives you enough power to do a whole lot of things. In fact, probably most things you actually need to do most of the time as a web developer. This covers already a vast majority of them. Really, from here, the difficulty level just goes up the more complex the components get, but I think you already have a pretty good solid background. So I think we're going to maybe do some more components, so stay tuned.